All right. How are you doing today? We are going to talk about 8 useful words and phrases. I didn't just pull these phrases out of the air. I get them from books for words frequently used to score higher on your IELTS or your TOEFL exam. But they're also words and phrases that you can use in your regular life. So they're useful no matter what. So let's get started with our first useful word or phrase. It's a phrase. Let me put it up here. And that is to bear in mind, which is like a combination of remember something and also consider it. It's a little bit hard to explain, but we'll practice it in a situation. And then you'll see how you can use this phrase, which means remember and consider at the same time. And by the way, if you have questions while we're doing this, please just ask in the comments. I will try to see them. I'll try to notice them. I get distracted, but if you write something, I'll read it. Okay, so let's talk about bear in mind. Here is a situation. Lisa is hoping to get a new job where she just interviewed. Her friend reminds her that her job is very far from her house. So that's the remember part. Like, remember, you live really far away from this place. It would take 2 hours to get there in the morning. We can use bear in mind here, which means remember it and also think about it. Bear in mind, you live very far away. And it's like remember and think about. Remember, you live very far away. Think about that. You live very far away. Okay. Now let's make a conditional with this. First, we'll start with a likely conditional. So I'll just, where is it? Put that up here. All right, so where are we? Okay, now she thinks that she will get the job. Okay, because we think this is very probable or likely that she will get the job, if we're going to make a conditional with it, we'll use the present simple. We use the simple present to talk about that. We think she's going to get the job. If she gets the job, or let's say if you, because it's her friend reminding her. If you get the job, and we're using present because we think that she will get the job. Now, to talk about the consequence of getting the job, we'll use will. You will have to. You will have to bear in mind that you live very far away. If you get the job, you'll have to bear in mind that you live very far away. You'll have to think about this. You'll have to remember this and consider this. If you get the job, you'll have to bear in mind very far away. And we're using simple present because we think probably she will get the job. Now, if we don't think that she will get the job, we would say it a little bit differently. Instead of using simple present, we'll use past simple. If you got the job. Now that sounds like, well, I don't really think you'll get the job. But if you got the job. And then when we talk about the consequence, we'll use would instead of will. If you got the job, you would have to bear in mind that you live very far away. You have to remember that. You have to think about that. Consider that. If you got the job, you would have to. You'd have to bear in mind that you live very far away. If you got the job, you'd have to bear in mind that you live very far away. Now, let's make an if-why question. So this is going to be a little bit complicated. Now we'll say if she. Instead of you, we'll use she. If she got the job. This is an if-why question. If she got the job, why would she? Why would she have to? If she got the job, why would she have to? Sometimes you can make a contraction with why and would. Why'd she? Why'd she have to? Why would she have to bear in mind that she lives very far away? If she got the job, why would she have to bear in mind that she lives very far away? And here's the answer. Because it would take her 2 hours to commute. Commute means traveling to and from work. It would take her 2 hours to commute. If she got the job, she would have to bear in mind that she lives very far away because it would take 2 hours to commute. That's a long sentence. Let's try another example using bear in mind. Here is a situation. Mike is thinking about traveling to another country for vacation. His flight, if he didn't buy the ticket, he's looking at a flight. His flight leaves at 8 p.m. from the airport. As he's planning on what time to leave for the airport, wait a minute, I got lost. How could his friend remind him? Because if you're taking an international flight, you probably have to arrive 2 or 3 hours before the flight. That's rush hour. So his friend wants to say, remember, that's rush hour. Think about that. Remember and think about that. It's rush hour. How would you say that using bear in mind? Bear in mind, let's say there will be a lot of traffic. There will be a lot of traffic. Bear in mind that there will be a lot of traffic. Remember that. Consider that. Think about that. Bear in mind that there will be a lot of. This is how that sounds in spoken English. There will be a lot of. There'll be a lot of. There'll be a lot of. There'll be a lot of traffic. Bear in mind that there'll be a lot of traffic. Let's make a conditional with this situation. So we'll start with a likely condition. So we think he's going to buy the ticket. We're not 100% sure about that, but we think that he's going to buy the ticket. Which is, I got rid of the wrong thing here. Wait, let me. Oh, it always starts so badly. Wait a minute, we want this. And I want this. Okay. All right, you have to bear in mind that I'm not good at this. All right, so we'll make a likely condition. We're pretty sure he's going to buy the ticket. We're not 100% sure that he's going to buy the ticket, but we think he probably will. Because of this, we're going to use the simple present. If you buy the ticket, that means we think he probably will buy the ticket. If you buy the ticket, you have to bear in mind. Now, how would we say there is a lot of traffic in this situation? We have to use will. There will be a lot of traffic. If you buy the ticket, you have to bear in mind there will be a lot of traffic. There will be a lot of. There'll be a lot of. There'll be a lot of traffic. There'll be a lot of traffic. If you buy the ticket, you have to bear in mind there'll be a lot of traffic. Let's change this to unlikely. So now we're not sure. We don't think that he's going to buy the ticket. He probably won't buy the ticket. It's not likely. Maybe he will, but probably not. Because we don't think that he's going to buy the ticket, let's use the simple past. If you bought the ticket. I don't think you will buy the ticket. If you bought the ticket, you have to bear in mind. And now we'll use would. There would be a lot of. There would be a lot of. You can use a contraction with there would, which would be there'd be a lot of traffic. If you bought the ticket, you'd have to bear in mind there'd be a lot of traffic. If you bought the ticket, you have to bear in mind there'd be a lot of traffic. Let's make an if-why question with this. So we'll say if he this time. If he bought the ticket, we're still unlikely. He's probably not going to buy the ticket. If he bought the ticket, why? Why would he? Why would he? Why would he? Or widey, why would, why'd he have to bear in mind? If he bought the ticket, why'd he have to bear in mind? Or no, sorry. I should read what I wrote instead of trying to improvise. Okay, try again. If he bought the ticket, why would he have... Oh yeah, that's what I have here. Why would he have to bear in mind that there would be a lot of traffic? Oh gosh, that's complicated. If he bought the ticket, why would he have to bear in mind that there would be a lot of traffic? Here's the answer. Because he would have to leave early. Because he would have to leave early. If he bought the ticket, he would have to bear in mind that there would be a lot of traffic because he would have to leave early. He would have to. He'd have to. He'd have to leave early. If he bought the ticket, he'd have to bear in mind that there'd be a lot of traffic because he would have to leave early. Okay. Oh, and I forgot to put up my... Okay, well, let's just move on. All right, let's move on to the next phrase. Hopefully I'll do better this time. Let's get rid of this. All right. Our next common useful word that you can use in your daily life, but can also help you get a higher score if you're taking a TOEFL or IELTS exam, is in-depth. In-depth. That's a pretty difficult word for people to pronounce, in-depth. But it's easy because all you do is you say dep, and then you stop and you say, you put your tongue under your teeth, dep, stop, dep, depth, depth. Takes a little practice to do it quickly. This word depth is a noun, and it comes from the word deep. And that makes sense, right? If you say something that is very deep, is very detailed, then that really makes sense. So we use in-depth to mean very complete, very detailed, in-depth. Let's practice using it in a sentence. Here's a situation. Mark is giving a presentation at work. The meeting is supposed to finish at 3. Mark is asking people to stay until 3:15. Now let's practice conditionals with this situation, and we'll use in-depth at the end when we get to the answer of the question. Okay, we'll start with a likely situation. Let me pull that up here. And our sentence is... What is our sentence? The meeting finishes at 3. We think that's probably going to happen. The meeting finishes at 3. Because we're making a condition and we think probably the meeting will finish at 3, we'll use simple present. If the meeting finishes at 3. If the meeting finishes at 3. Now let's talk about the result or the consequence of this. And because we think it's likely, because we think it's probable, we'll use will. And the answer is he asked everyone to stay until 3:15. He asked everyone to stay until 3:15. Let's use will. He will ask everyone to stay until 3:15. He'll ask. He will ask. He'll ask everyone to stay until 3:15. If the meeting finishes at 3, he'll ask everyone to stay until 3:15. Now let's change this from likely to unlikely. Probably it's not going to happen. It's probably not going to happen. So we have the meeting finishes at 3. How will we change that? We don't think that that's probable. Maybe it will go later. Maybe it will go earlier. Not 3 o'clock. We'll use the simple past. If the meeting finished at 3, if the meeting finished at 3, and then when we talk about the result, we have to use would. What is the consequence? What is the result of this? He would ask everyone. He would ask everyone to stay. He would ask everyone to stay until 3:15. He'd ask everyone. He would ask. He'd ask. He'd ask. He'd ask everyone to stay until 3:15. If the meeting finished at 3, he'd ask everyone to finish until 3:15. Now let's make an if-why question with that. If the meeting finished at 3, why would he? Why would he? Why would he? Why would he? Why would he ask? Why would he ask everyone to stay? If the meeting finished at 3, why would he ask everyone to stay until 3:15? And here's the answer. Because he is giving a very detailed presentation, a very thorough presentation, a very in-depth presentation. If the meeting finished at 3, he'd ask everyone to stay until 3:15, because he's giving an in-depth presentation. All right, let's try another example using in-depth. Here's another situation. Mary is very interested in computer programming, and she wants to be the best computer programmer in the world. She's applying to a very difficult program. It's not easy to be accepted into this program. She doesn't know if the school will accept her. Let's make a likely question here. Or likely condition. Let's make a likely condition. And our sentence is, the school accepts her application. How will you make a likely if situation here? If the school accepts her application. If the school accepts her application. We use simple present because we think probably they will accept her. Now let's talk about the consequence or the result. And the result is she get a very valuable certification. How will you put that into the sentence? If it's likely, if it's probable. She will get. She will get a. She will get a. She'll get a. She will get a. She'll get a. She'll get a very valuable certification. If the school accepts her, she'll get a very valuable certification. And we say it like that because we think the school probably will accept her. What if we are more pessimistic about her chances of entering the school? What if we think probably not? Probably they will not accept her. How will we change this sentence to show that we think probably they won't accept her? We'll change accept into the past, the simple past. If the school accepted her, if the school accepted her, if the school accepted her, and now when we talk about the result, we'll use would. She would get a. She would get a very valuable certification. She would get a. She'd get a. She'd get a. She'd get a very valuable certification if the school accepted her. Let's make an if-why question with this sentence. If the school accepted her, if the school accepted her, why would she? Why would she get a? Why would she get a? Why would she get a very valuable certification? And here's the answer. It is a course that covers the topic extensively, thoroughly. So what kind of course is that? If it's very extensive, very thorough. Thorough means complete. In-depth, in-depth. It is an in-depth course. If the school accepted her, she'd get a very valuable certification because it's an in-depth course. It is an. It's an in-depth course. If the school accepted her, if the school accepted her, She would get a very valuable certification because it's an in-depth course. All right, let's move on to our next phrase. Moving right along here. Whoops. Okay, and that is out of stock. This is another common phrase that you can use in your daily life, and also it can help you get a higher score if you're taking the TOEFL or the IELTS exam. Out of stock. And this phrase means a product that is temporarily not available because they don't have it at the moment. Let's see how we can use it in a sentence. John is ordering a very popular computer online. He's very excited to get his new computer. But before he paid for it, he received a pop-up message explaining to him that it might take 2 months before he can receive his new computer. And now he's not sure if he wants to buy it from that website. Let's make an if condition, and we'll use out of stock at the end. So our sentence is he buys the computer. And we think he probably still will buy the computer. You know, you get very excited. I'm going to buy a computer, and you get on the website and you fill out all of the paperwork, and then you get a message, well, it will take 3 months, 2 months. You might still hit the buy button, right? Probably, if you're very excited. Okay, so we have if he buys. We'll use the simple present, if he buys, because we think he probably will continue with the order. Okay, and then the result. What is the result? Let's see. I lost my place. Okay, let's start over. If he buys the computer, he have to wait 2 months. So how will you talk about the result in a likely scenario? You use will. So let's use will for he have to wait 2 months. He will have to wait 2 months. He'll have to. He'll have to wait. He'll have to wait 2 months. If he buys the computer, he'll have to wait 2 months. Now let's make a if-why question. If he buy, oh wait, no, let's do unlikely first. Okay, if he buys the computer, he will have to wait 2 months. Let's change that to unlikely. Unlikely. So now we think, oh, you know, he's about to buy it. Oh, you have to wait 2 months. Oh, I'm very disappointed. I want to cancel the order, maybe. He's thinking about it. Now we have to use the past because maybe he's not going to do it. If he bought the computer. If he bought the computer. And when we talk about the result, we will have to use would. If he bought the computer, he would have to. If he bought the computer, he would have to. He'd have to. If he bought the computer, he'd have to wait 2 months. If he bought the computer, he'd have to wait 2 months. Now, let's make an if-why question. If he bought the computer, why would he have to? Why would he have to wait 2 months? If he bought the computer, why would he have to wait 2 months? And the reason is because the computer is so popular, everyone is buying it. They don't have enough available right now. They have to order more from the factory. And this is when you say the computers are out of stock. The computers are out of stock. That means they're temporarily unavailable. If he bought the computer from the website, he'd have to wait 2 months because it's out of stock. It's out of stock. All right, let's try another example using the phrase out of stock. Here is another situation. Mary is buying a new car. and she wants the car to be in a very special color. When she goes to the car dealership, they inform her if she wants that color, they will have to order it from another dealership. Now Mary isn't sure if she's going to buy the car because of the price. But she's very tempted. She really wants it. How can we say if Mary buy car, meaning we think she probably will buy the car? Oh, let me change this. We think she probably will buy the car. If she buys the car. If she buys the car. And what is the result? The dealership will have to order it from a different dealership. The dealership will have to order it from a different dealership. If she buys the car, let's change it. Let's say the dealership will have to make a special order. The dealership will have to make a special order. Let's say that. They will have to. They'll have to. They'll have to make a special order. If Mary buys the car, they'll have to make a special order. Let's change this from likely, we think she probably will buy the car, to unlikely, she probably won't buy the car. Maybe it's too expensive, and she thinks, forget it. We're not sure, but that's the way that she's going. So we'll use simple past now to talk about the unlikely situation. If Mary bought the car. We don't think that she's going to buy the car. If Mary bought the car. If Mary bought the car, the dealership would have to make a special order, and we'll use would to talk about the consequence. The dealership would have to. A lot of times you can combine would with a noun, and it would sound like this. The dealership would have to. If she bought the car, the dealership would have to make a special order. Now, let's make an if-why question with that idea. If she bought that car, if she bought the car, why would they? Why would they have to? Why would they have to make a? Why would they have to make a? Why would they have to make a special order? And the reason is they don't have that color at the moment. Right now, that color is rare, it's a little strange, and they just don't have it. This is when you can say out of stock. That color is out of stock. If she bought that car, they would have to make a special order because it's out of stock. All right, let's move on to our next vocabulary word. Whoops. There we go. Corny. This is another common useful word that you can use in your daily life, and you can also get a higher score if you're taking the TOEFL or the IELTS exam with a word like this. And this word corny, it means like too sweet, too sentimental. It's also used when talking about jokes. The thing that they have in common, something being too sweet and too sentimental in jokes, is when something is too sentimental, you roll your eyes. That's like this. Oh, God. That's what corny means. It's when something makes you go, oh, God, not this. That's corny. So something that's too sweet or too sentimental, or a joke that's funny but in a really stupid way. You know, when somebody tells you a joke, you either laugh or you say, oh God, that's so stupid. That's corny. The stupid one is corny. Let's see how we can use it in a sentence. John is going to invite Mary to see a comedian. Now, he hasn't invited her yet, but he's thinking about it. But if he does invite her, she will say no. Let's make an if condition with this situation, and we'll practice the word corny at the end. Oh, let's put that up here. Okay, so we think John probably will invite Mary. That's very probable, very likely. So we'll say, if John invites Mary, if he invites her, if he invites her, if he invites her. We use simple present because we think he probably will invite her. If he invites her to see the comedian, and the result would be she not go. She not go. So how will we put that into a sentence in this condition because we think John probably will invite her? We'll use will. She will not go. She won't go. If he invites her, she won't go. If he invites her, she won't go. If he invites her, she won't go. Now, let's change this from likely, he probably will invite her, to unlikely. Probably he won't invite her. He's just thinking about it, but probably not. Maybe he knows that she'll say no, so he doesn't. Because we think he's not going to do this, we'll use simple past. If he invited her. 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 If he invited her to see the comedian. And now, if we talk about the result, we have to use would, because this is unlikely. So instead of she will not go, we have to say she wouldn't go. She wouldn't go. If he invited her, she wouldn't go. If he invited her, she wouldn't go. He probably won't invite her. It's just an idea. If he invited her, she wouldn't go. Now, let's make an if-why question with this sentence. If he invited her, she wouldn't go. And this is a why not question. This is negative. If he invited her, why? Why wouldn't she? Why wouldn't she go? If he invited her, why wouldn't she go? And the answer is, she hates that comedian. He tells the kind of jokes that make you roll your eyes and say, oh, that's so stupid. Like, oh, that's not funny. That's just dumb. That's corny. So let's say he tells corny jokes. He tells corny jokes. If he invited her, she wouldn't go because he tells corny jokes. If he invited her, she wouldn't go because he tells corny jokes. Okay, let's try another example using corny. Here is a situation. John is in a grocery store and he sees a very beautiful woman and he wants to get to know her better. She's a stranger. He doesn't know her. He just saw her and thought she was very beautiful. Now, a normal person maybe would walk up to the woman and say, hello, my name is John. But John is not that kind of person. He thinks he's funny or cute. So he wants to walk up to her, and this is what he says. Do you have a map? Because I just got lost in your eyes. Now, how do you think that woman would react to a question like that? Do you have a map? Because I just got lost in your eyes. Probably most women would say, oh, God. Okay, let's see. Well, that's corny. That's the corny part, but I think we'll use it a little bit later. Wait, how does this work? Okay. Where are we? Okay, so he's just thinking about asking her out. He hasn't walked up to her yet. But so let's make an if he ask her out question. Or if he ask her out condition. Likely. Okay, let's say likely. We think he probably will do this. We think he probably will ask her out. He's very tempted. If he asks her out. If he asks her, if he asks her, if he asks her, if he asks her, if he asks her out. Okay, and the result is she not accept. She not accept. How will you say that in a likely condition? If he asks her out, we think he's going to do that. How will you say the second part? She will not accept. She won't accept. If he asks her out, she won't accept. Now, let's change this from likely to unlikely. Okay, we don't think that he's going to ask her out. He's tempted, but maybe he's too scared. So he won't do it. He's just thinking about it for a minute. So we'll change this to the past because he probably will not do it. If he asked her out. Asked her, asked her, asked her. If he asked her, if he asked her out, if he asked her out, she would not. We're going to use would now to talk about the result. She wouldn't accept. If he asked her out, she wouldn't accept. Now, let's make an if-why question with that situation. If he asked her out, why wouldn't she? Why wouldn't? Why wouldn't she accept? Why wouldn't she accept? If he asked her out, why wouldn't she accept? And here is the answer. He uses corny lines. Okay, remember, corny is like, oh God, are you kidding me? Remember? Do you have a map? Are you a map? Do you have a map because I just got lost in your eyes? How would a woman react to a line like that? She'd say, oh God, that's horrible. If he asked her out, she wouldn't accept because he uses corny lines. All right, let's move on to our next expression, which is let off some steam. And this expression is something that this is another useful expression that you can use in your daily life. It's very common. And it will also help you to get a higher score if you're taking the TOEFL or the IELTS exam. Let off some steam. It means to release energy or to release pressure. It can almost be used in the sense of relax. But relax because you're tense, or relax because you have a lot of pressure. Let's see how we can use it in a sentence. Mark is under a lot of pressure at work sometimes. When that happens, he likes to spend the weekend in the mountains, in the country. This is his way of releasing pressure, of relaxing, to get away from the pressure. So we can say he goes to the mountains to let off some steam. He goes to the mountains to let off some steam. Let's make a likely condition with this idea. Let's bring that up. So our sentence is, he is under pressure at work. He is under pressure at work. If it's likely, if we think this is going to be the case, if we think this is the scenario, probably, then we'll use simple present because we think probably this is going to be true. If he is under pressure at work, if he's under pressure at work. And now to talk about the result, we'll use will, because this is a likely scenario, a probable scenario. If he's under pressure at work, he will go to the mountains. He will go to the mountains on the weekend to let off some steam, to release the pressure. If he's under pressure at work, he'll go to the mountains to let off some steam. Okay. Now, what if we want to change this to unlikely? Probably he will not be under pressure. We have to use the simple past. Now, I'm saying it one way, which is if he were under pressure. But you could say if he was under pressure if you want. It's more correct if you say if he were under pressure, but it's more acceptable if you say if he were under pressure, but a lot of people will say if he was under pressure. If he were under pressure, if he were under pressure. Now to talk about the result, the consequence, we'll use would. He would go to the mountains on the weekend to let off some steam. He'd go to the mountains on the weekend to let off some steam, to release the pressure, to relax a little bit. Let's make a what do you do to let off steam if under pressure at work question. Oh, this is going to be hard. If you were under pressure at work, what would you do? What would you do to let off some steam? If you were under pressure at work, what would you do to let off some steam? Let's answer go swimming. If I were under pressure at work, I would go swimming. I'd go swimming. If I were under pressure at work, I'd go swimming on the weekends. If I were under pressure at work, I'd go swimming on the weekends to let off some steam. Okay, let's do another example using let off some steam. Here is another situation. Lisa is having a very difficult time at work. Her customers are very difficult people. And by the end of the day, she has a lot of angry energy. She spends all day getting angry at customers. Let's say she has a bad day at work. We'll make a condition with that, a likely condition. We think that probably is going to be the case. That's probably the scenario. If she has a bad day at work, if she has a bad day at work, now let's talk about the result or the consequence. She goes out with friends. So how would you put that into the conditional sentence? She goes, if she has a bad day at work, we have to use will because it's likely, it's probable. She will go out with friends. If she has a bad day at work, she'll go out with friends. If she has a bad day at work, she'll go out with friends. Okay, now how would you say to relax, to release the angry energy from herself? To let off some steam. If she has a bad day at work, she'll go out with friends to let off some steam. That means to release all of the energy, all of the angry energy. Let's change that from a likely situation, probably she'll have a bad day at work, to an unlikely situation. Probably she won't have a bad day at work. Now we have to use the simple past. Because we don't think that she will have a bad day at work. It's possible, but we don't think it's going to happen. If she had, we'll use simple past. If she had a bad day at work, how will you talk about the result? She would go out with some friends. She'd go out. If she had a bad day at work, she'd go out with some friends to let off some steam. Release the angry energy, the tension. Now let's make an if. Wait, let's see. If you have bad day at work, what do let off steam? That's going to be hard. Can you do that? How would you make an if you had bad day at work, what you do let off steam? If you had a bad day at work, what would you do? If you had a bad day at work, what would you do to let off some steam? If you had a bad day at work, what would you do to let off some steam? Okay, I'll just give my answer. I would play with my dogs. So that's a way to relax or to release the anger or the tension or the pressure. If I had a bad day at work, I'd play with my dogs to let off some steam. If I had a bad day at work, I'd play with my dogs to let off some steam. All right, let's move on to our next phrase here, which is on the rocks. Now, in some scenarios, when you say on the rocks, that means you want ice in your drink. But another way that you can use this phrase, on the rocks, is to mean having problems with a relationship. So this is another word, another phrase that you can use in your daily life. It's pretty common. That can also help you get a higher score on the TOEFL or the IELTS exam. On the rocks. You can use this with any kind of relationship that is going from bad to, or going from good to bad. Okay, so it could be business partners have a relationship on the rocks. We are on the rocks with our business partners. That means we're having a difficult time in our relationship together. People talk about marriages being on the rocks. That means you're having a very difficult time with your marriage. You're in a very bad place. Let's practice using on the rocks, meaning relationship going bad, going in the wrong direction. Here's the situation. John and Lisa just got married, but all of their friends don't think it's going to last very long because they have two very different personalities. Let's make a likely condition with this. We think this is probably going to happen. Their marriage is on the rocks. Okay, we'll make this into a condition. It's not, but we can talk about it being likely or unlikely. Let's say probably this will happen. If their marriage is on the rocks, we'll use the simple present because we think it's probably going to be the case. If their marriage is on the rocks, and let's see, here's the result. This would be the consequence. They see a marriage counselor. How will you put that into our condition? That's the result. They see a marriage counselor. You have to use will. They will see a marriage counselor. They'll see a marriage counselor. They'll see a marriage counselor. If their marriage is on the rocks, they'll see a marriage counselor. If their marriage is on the rocks, they'll see a marriage counselor. Now, let's change this to, we think probably this will happen, to probably not. It could happen, it's possible, but probably not. So how will we change this? If their marriage were on the rocks. If their marriage were on the rocks. You can say was here if you want, but I guess if you're taking a test, you would probably want to say were. That would be better. That would be better English to say were. If their marriage were on the rocks. Okay, and we're saying it like that because we don't think this is going to happen. It could happen, but probably not. And how would you change the second part of the idea? They would see a marriage counselor. We use would because this is an unlikely situation. They would see a, they'd see a, they'd see a marriage counselor. If their marriage were on the rocks, they'd see a marriage counselor. If their marriage were on the rocks, they'd see a marriage counselor. Now, let's make an if-why question with this idea. If their marriage were on the rocks, why? Why would they see a marriage counselor? If their marriage were on the rocks, why would they see a marriage counselor? And here's the answer. Because they don't want to get a divorce. If their marriage were on the rocks, they'd see a marriage counselor because they don't want to get a. They don't want to get a to get a. They don't want to get a divorce. They don't want to get ta. They don't want to get a. They don't want to get a. They don't want to get a divorce. They don't want to get a. They don't want to get a divorce. If their marriage were on the rocks, they'd see a marriage counselor because they don't want to get a divorce. All right, here's another example using on the rocks, meaning a relationship not going very well, difficult time in a relationship. Here is a situation. John's client is very unhappy with his services. They had a good relationship, but now they've had many disagreements and it isn't going so well. His relationship with his client is on the rocks. Let's make a likely if condition. If I can bring it up. Let's make a... Wait, I lost my frame. Oh boy. Okay. Let's make a likely if condition with this idea. Okay, but the idea is he calls a meeting. So when you want to arrange a meeting, sometimes you can use the word call. Call a meeting means request people to come and meet with you. He calls a meeting. So let's make a likely condition with that sentence. If he calls a meeting, if he calls a meeting, if he calls a meeting, okay, wait a minute, let's see. I have to find my result. I'm looking for my result here. Okay, sorry. I got lost. Okay. If he calls a meeting, their relationship not be on the rocks. How will you put that into the conditional? Their relationship not be on the rocks. If he calls a meeting, their relationship will not be, won't be. If he calls a meeting, their relationship won't be on the rocks anymore. If he calls a meeting, their relationship won't be on the rocks anymore. Okay, that's likely. We think he probably will call a meeting and try to repair or fix the relationship. But let's say things are really bad, and maybe he should call a meeting, but he doesn't. Then it's unlikely. Probably he won't call a meeting. How will you change it? You have to use the simple past. If he called a meeting, if he called a, called a meeting, their relationship will not be on the rocks anymore. Their relationship won't be on the rocks anymore. You can actually do a contraction with relationship with a noun and will. It would sound like this. Relationship'll. Their relationship will not be. That's very common. Their relationship'll instead of will. The relationship will not be on the rocks anymore. Or you can say won't. The relationship won't be on the rocks anymore. If he calls a meeting, the relationship will not be on the rocks anymore. Meaning the relationship will improve. Let's change that from likely to unlikely. We don't think he's going to call a meeting. Probably not. The relationship it's gone too far. They're too angry with each other. Probably he will not try to repair the relationship. How will you change that? If he called a meeting, we use the simple past because we don't think it will happen. If he called a meeting, their relationship, and then when we talk about the result, we have to use would. Their relationship wouldn't be. Their relationship wouldn't be on the rocks anymore. If he called a meeting, their relationship wouldn't be on the rocks anymore. You can actually make a contraction. This is not something you can write, but people talk like this all the time. Relationship and would be relationship'd. Relationship would not be. If he called a meeting, the relationship would not be on the rocks anymore. Very common. I at least I do that. I don't know, maybe other people don't. I do. If he called a meeting, the relationship would not be on the rocks anymore. Okay, now let's make an if, why not question. If, why not? If he called a meeting, if he called a meeting, why wouldn't? If he called a meeting, why wouldn't the relationship? If he called a meeting, why wouldn't their relationship be on the rocks anymore? That's a pretty complicated question. If he called a meeting, why wouldn't their relationship be on the rocks anymore? And the answer is they could resolve their differences. They could fix their differences. If he called a meeting, their relationship wouldn't be on the rocks anymore because they could resolve their differences. All right, just got 2 more to go. Our next word for today is staple. This is another common word. It's very useful in your regular life, and it can help you get a higher score on the TOEFL or the IELTS exam. And maybe you know the word staple as a noun. This is also a noun, but, well, actually, what if I show you a picture of a staple? It's a very common word, but we're going to use it in a completely different way. But just in case you don't know what a staple is, let's find a picture of some staples. Okay, these are staples. See that? Can you see that picture? It looks a little bit blurry. Oh, hopefully you can see it. Let's move on here. Get my background back. Okay. Staple. Okay, this means something that's necessary, or something that you always must have when you're consuming something. It can be used in other ways, but it means something essential or necessary in a process. So let's see how we can use it in a situation. Lisa and Mary want to cook... Oh wait, let me change this back. Lisa and Mary want to cook dinner together, and they're thinking about making Chinese food. Let's make an if condition with this situation. We'll use staple at the end, so you can see how to use it. But first, let's make our if condition, which is where is it? Okay, they make Chinese food. They probably are going to do it. So how would you say this in a likely way, in a probable way? If they make Chinese food, we'll use a simple present because we think they probably will make Chinese food. If they make Chinese food, they go to the store to buy some rice. They go to the store to buy some rice. How will you make that the result in our condition? If they make Chinese food, they will. We have to use will here because it's probable, it's likely. If they make Chinese food, they will go to the store and buy some rice. Let's change this from likely to unlikely. So they're talking about making Chinese food, but probably they won't do it. Maybe they don't have experience cooking Chinese food and it's too risky. So if they think about it more, they probably won't do it because it might not turn out very good for them. So because we don't think they're going to do it, we'll use the simple past. if they made Chinese food. If they made Chinese food. And now when we talk about the consequence, the result, we have to use would instead of will. They would go to the store and buy some rice. They're probably not going to make Chinese food. If they made Chinese food, they would go, they'd go to the store. They'd go to the store. They'd go to the store and buy some rice. Now, let's make an if-why question with this condition. If they made Chinese food, why? If they made Chinese food, why would they? If they made Chinese food, why would they go to the store? If they made Chinese food, why would they go to the store and buy some rice? And the reason is because it's always important to have rice when you make Chinese food. That's always very important in Chinese cuisine. Maybe that's a stereotype, but I think most people would agree that you always have rice with your food if you're having Chinese food. So we can use the word staple here. Rice is a staple of Chinese food. That means you can't have Chinese food unless you also have rice. It's necessary, it's essential, it's important to this process. If they made Chinese food, they'd have to go to the store and buy some rice because rice is a staple of Chinese food. All right, let's try another example using staple, which means an essential part of the process, a very, very important part of the thing or the process. Here's a situation. Mary is thinking about looking for a new job. But before she starts looking, she wants to take a computer course. So Mary wants a new job. Let's make an if condition with that. Probable. We think probably she does want a new job. So we use simple present. If she wants a new job. If she wants a new job, now let's talk about the result, which is she take a computer course first. How will you add that into the condition? We're saying if she wants a new job because we think probably she does. And how will you talk about the result or the consequence? You have to use will because it's probable. If she wants a new job, she will take a computer course first. She'll take a computer course first. If she wants a new job, she'll take a computer course first. Now, let's change that from likely to unlikely. We don't think that she wants a new job. Maybe she does, who knows, but we really don't think that she wants a new job. So let's change this to the past. If she wanted a new job. If she wanted a new job. If she wanted a new job, she would. We're going to use would to talk about the result because this is an unlikely situation. If she wanted a new job, she would take a computer course first. She'd take a computer course first. If she wanted a new job, she'd take a computer course first. Let's make an if-why question with this situation. If she wanted a new job, why? Why would she? Why would she take a? Why would she take a? Why would she take a? If she wanted a new job, why would she take a computer course first? And here's the answer. Computer knowledge is essential and necessary in every company now. Instead of saying essential and necessary, we can just use staple. Computers are a staple in every company now. Computers are a staple in every company now. If she wanted a new job, she would take a computer course first. She'd take a computer course first. If she wanted a new job, she'd take a computer course first because computers are a staple in every company now. They're essential. They're very important. All right. Oh, we're on the last one. That was fast. Why do I have... Oh, I've got to get rid of this. Okay, here's our final one for today. Have something in mind. Okay, this is another common, useful phrase that you can use in your daily life. It's a very, very common phrase. And this is also something that will help you score higher if you're taking the TOEFL or IELTS exam. And to have something in mind means to have a plan or an intention or a preference. Now, all of these exercises today, we've been using conditionals, but I couldn't think of any way to make a conditional with this, any less complicated than the other ones. So we're not doing conditionals for this on the last one. Okay, here's the situation. Lisa invited John out to dinner. And John wants to know which restaurant or what type of food she was thinking about it. He wants to know her plan. Like, what's the idea? What is the plan that you have? Hey, you want to come to dinner? Sure. Where do you want to go? That's kind of the... And this is exactly how you would ask it in this situation. You would use what have in mind. What you have in mind. How would you make a question with that? What you have in mind. What do you? What do you have? What do you have in mind? That's like, what is your plan about this? And it could mean which restaurant, like the name of the restaurant. It could mean what type of food. It's very general. It just means what's your plan? Tell me more about your plan. That's really what it means. It's like, tell me more about your plan. Okay, so Lisa says, do you want to come to dinner with me? Sure. What do you have in mind? Tell me more about the plan. And Lisa answers, Japanese food. How could she say, my plan is Japanese food, using have something in mind? I have Japanese food in mind. That's my plan. I have Japanese food in mind. Okay, how would John say that he has a different idea or he has a different plan for their night out? For the object, we can use something else. Something else. I have something else. I have something else in mind. That means I have a completely different idea about our night. I have something else in mind. I have a different plan from you. How would Lisa ask, what is your plan? What is your idea? Using have in mind. What have in mind? What do you have in mind? What do you have in mind? What's your plan? What's your idea about this? And John answers, Italian food. It's almost like, what's your vision? What's your vision about this? John says, my vision is Italian food. How would he say that? Using have in mind. I have Italian food in mind. I have Italian food in mind. Okay, let's try another situation using have in mind, meaning, I think that's actually better. I just thought of that now. What's your vision? That really is what it means, because, mind is this, like, what's in there? What are you seeing in there? So here's the situation. Mary wants to paint her living room, and Mike asks Mary, which colors are you considering or planning or thinking about? What colors do you visualize? I think visualize is a good word here. Okay, but let's use have in mind. So can you make a which colors have in mind question? Which colors? Which colors do you? Which colors do you have? Which colors do you have in mind? Mary answers blue and pink. Okay. How can she say my plan, my vision is blue or pink? That's my idea. That's what I see. Use have in mind for blue and pink. I have blue or pink in mind. I have blue or pink in mind. Mike doesn't like those colors. How can he say my plan is different? My idea is different. My vision for this is different. Use other colors for your object. I have other colors. I have other colors in mind. How can Mary ask which colors are your idea? Which colors are your vision? Use have in mind. Which colors do you have in mind? Which colors do you have in mind? How can John answer, my vision, my plan is yellow or green? Use have in mind to mean that's my vision. I have yellow or green. I have yellow or green in mind. I have yellow or green in mind. All right, that's it. We did all 8 today. I hope you enjoyed this little session. And thank you for sticking around and watching until the end. And I will see you next time with more interesting words and phrases that we can practice together. Goodbye.